Hey, what's up guys? Kevin Cage back with another cryptocurrency update. Hope all is well. Be sure to tune in and watch this entire video. I do want to address obviously some huge mobile networks we're well aware of and kind of re-talk about MasterCard, another behemoth in tandem with Visa. We know Visa's connections with Earthport. There are other networks such as B2B Connect. I'm not saying they're utilizing XRP. What we're seeing is digitalization, updates, acquisitions across the board. And again, interoperability with crypto assets. And this is exactly the future that we are going towards. So I want to talk about some well-known partnerships tied in together. And before we get into the information, recent news, recent acquisitions, recent investments that we're seeing across the board, huge demand for crypto assets as a whole. I mean, these institutions are starting to get their feet wet, and I don't think people comprehend what is yet to come. You guys can believe slow and steady, you can believe multiple bull runs, but I believe it's going to be a combination. Speculation combined with utility is going to create these huge market cycles that are not new, and we are going to see them. And obviously, I think you guys are aware of how exponential growth really occurs. Okay, we've talked about the market, we've talked about how nascent it is. And we talked about what is yet to come. We've even seen that the OCC has been discussing for several years at this point the fact of custodying, meaning holding digital assets. This has been planned for quite some time. This type of law does not pass unless it has been, being explored for quite some time. You guys, many people on this channel, many skeptics thought that we were 5 to 10 years away. And now, little did we know, out of nowhere, last month, national banks in the United States can custody crypto assets. Right? There's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot more classification that has to be done as well. But that is huge news. So do not forget that. All right. So I want to address this again. This is shared by Mac Attack with the recent, Spark token distribution announcement. It's not an ITO per se. Again, that's an initial token offering. This is really just going to be a utility fork upon the XRP ledger. Many people are kind of diving into this. I have a bunch of research to really get into. Again, my head is spinning with all of this news as well. And even Galgatron is saying, this is one of the best things that happened to the XRP ledger. And I'm actually, extremely excited for this. And my question down below, guys, so let me know in the comments, is this. Is this type of Spark issuance going to increase demand for XRP, meaning, move the price up? Or is it going to be an opportunity for, the market to kind of manipulate and take advantage of this price swing? Meaning, so really quick, guys, let me see here. So again, 100 billion Spark tokens will be created to mirror the quantity of XRP that exists, okay? And as we can see here, kind of see the distribution between, what Ripple holds, between what, Flare holds, etc. And again, some exchanges could potentially be taking place in this. So we'll figure out, in the weeks ahead, again, as we can see, it'll, a date will be announced as well. But my question is this. So they're going to be distributing Spark tokens, which essentially will have, my guess is, a very, very low value, next to nothing value initially. It does not mean it will stay low, because obviously there's no such thing as free money. And it could potentially incentivize a lot of even swing traders or people that are holding Bitcoin or other assets to temporarily swing it into XRP, put it on, do whatever they need to do to get that airdrop for Spark tokens that are essentially free tokens initially at a, 1-to-1 ratio. So could this incentivize short-term demand while they're doing this airdrop for XRP? That is entirely possible. But knowing that whales, trading bots, AI, whatever you guys believe, is aware of these markets, do you think that if they know everyone's going to be in XRP, is that a time for these whales and, market manipulators to take profit and, drop the price again 5 to 10% temporarily? Potentially. And that's just something I'm going to keep an eye on in the weeks ahead. Am I worried about it? No, not whatsoever, guys. The future is already pretty obvious and where this is all headed. I just kind of wanted to talk about that and see where this is going in the future, okay? So we will absolutely see, and I'll talk about, obviously the Spark tokens, the, network usage in the future. This is going to be really, really exciting. I know, I'm basically a utility maximalist, excuse me, and I am basically just supporting any project that solves a real problem. There's not going to be one token that solves every single problem, and if there is, it's not going to be able to do every single problem or solve every problem extremely well. There's going to be a trade-off, but it's good to see that we are actually seeing more smart contract, basically, competency coming from the XRP ledger. We knew the trade-offs. We knew even Stephen Thomas back in the day developing it. If they focused on smart contracts, there would be fees, there would be network congestion, just like Ethereum is facing today. However, did Ethereum succeed thus far? In my opinion, yes. Look at the price. Look at how many projects. We're talking hundreds of thousands of tokens, or ERC20 tokens. But there's also a trade-off. Now they are trying to migrate to proof of stake. Now they are trying to, deal with all of the network congestion and fees and the gas costs. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I've experienced it trading some ERC20 tokens during high periods of congestion. The fees are outrageous. And I'm sure if you guys have been here for a few years, you've experienced that same thing. That is not going to be sustainable. There's going to be many assets that win. But again, I'm honestly just grateful that XRP, Ripple, all of the groups, Spring, these initiatives that are building a proper foundation. Now, some people, you moon boys that just want to be, multimillionaires overnight, I get it. It can be frustrating, but I'd much rather have a stable foundation before, reaching those new heights. Okay. So again, I'm looking for sustainability. I'm looking to keep that money and also, attain that life-changing wealth. All right. So again, guys, if you guys are keeping an eye on the news circle, one of the companies that I predict will be going public in the next year or two, again, Jeremy Allaire, you can tie it in with USDC, you can tie it in with the folks over at Coinbase, Algorand Foundation, very, very tight-knit group. Keep an eye on these guys. Again, market makers in USD coin, new opportunities and growth drivers, as we can see here, August 20th, if you guys want to tune into that. Just was looking at that. All right. So before we get into MasterCard, wanted to address this. So I am Legion sharing this screenshot. Again, this is over on Finextra. This is just another country. Bank of Lithuania, progress of financial innovations requires equal treatment at an EU level. So again, as we can see here, across the board, this is not the only country that is kind of saying this, following a technologically neutral approach in applying smart supervisory solutions more widely, talking about embracing the fintech ecosystem, working together with the private and public sector, things that we're well aware of. Key, considerations. Let me see here. Okay, so again, same type of narrative. We need, legislation, regulation, classification across the board, and we need to move together as one single unit. The same type of vernacular that we're hearing folks over at the IMF and the World Economic Forum saying as well, okay? So again, just wanted to share that. This is, and it's a focus on payments in particular, guys. A level playing field for both banking and non-banking sectors. So pay attention to this. We're seeing this across the board, and it is literally just the snowball effect. Okay? Next up, another, again, kind of a potential on-demand liquidity corridor, the Thai baht, their currency. So now they're a central bank as well. Eyes DeFi, decentralized finance use cases for its digital baht, BAHT. Again, guys, another liquid corridor. Huge remittance money flows, potentially for on-demand liquidity in the future. They are obviously one of the countries in Asia that have already kind of given regulatory clarity for many digital assets, such as XRP, whether it's a commodity, a utility token, an exchange token, you name it. Again, countries in Asia are, ahead in terms of classification. So hopefully that lights a fire and incentivizes the US to really speed things up. Some people believe, well, they're not going to give classification because giving classification would allow the floodgates to open. Knowing institutions, knowing what occurred in the dot-com bubble, they are going to want to accumulate over the counter as much as possible, not even being on the public order books. And we're going to talk about that later in this video and show you guys some huge whales that are doing just that. Okay, so luckily, for us, there are some exchanges that allow us to buy OTC over the counter. Nobody can see those purchases, but typically, you need, $100,000 buys, $1 million buys as an institution as well. All right. So again, DeFi, just like Huobi with that DeFi alliance, we can see, Thailand. DeFi is that buzzword. Personally, anything really working on a decentralized manner of finance, more distributed rather than centralized with a central, point of failure, systemic risk is going to be DeFi. It's quite obvious. This is the future we're going towards, period. And it's not just going to be for finance. It'll be for data storage, security, you name it. All right, let's get into the fun stuff. So I want to preface MasterCard with this news right here. So XRP Crypto Wolf sharing this. So MasterCard announced the expansion of its Accelerate FinTech portfolio. Again, FinTech, financial technology for newcomers, with the dramatic shift for digital payments, the rise of open banking, and growth of blockchain and cryptocurrency. There's never been a more exciting time to be an innovator in FinTech. Well, obviously, we know one of the highest valued FinTech companies there is today that has ever come out in the history, and that's Ripple. And right here, recognizing the important role fintechs play in the world's rapid digital transformation, MasterCard is continuously diversifying its business by diversifying its perspective, looking to new partners and new ways to build on its core competency as a payments network. So I'm going to do my best not to talk about Visa. I referenced them in the previous video as well. I think you guys understand the connections. You guys can go on LinkedIn and kind of, do the dance and see who moves who. It's just chess pieces at play. So it's not only people, but it's also these acquisitions and partnerships in joint ventures. So pay attention to all of this, okay? So let's get into the fun stuff. Right here, guys, coil.com, I Am Legion, has so many blogs. Literally, if you use these as a reference and then take this information and go do additional research and, deep dives, it will take you incredibly far. So right here, MasterCard, just to speed through this, I know I've gone through this before, talking about MasterCard, many patents that they've filed as well. And we also know ACI Worldwide, they do 14 trillion with a T, $14 trillion per day in transactions. You can go right on their website and see that. One of the first fintech companies they name to be partnered with, in tandem with like Swift, is Ripple. Okay, so notice ACI Worldwide and VocaLink create payments network. Now notice VocaLink, of course, they are connected to MasterCard. Why? MasterCard acquired VocaLink, as we can see here, all about payments, real-time payments, RTP capability, guys. This is simply the future. All right. Now we can see on p2pcash.com, trusted partners, Bitso, one of the biggest exchanges in Latin America. Well, why are they relevant? Because they do on-demand liquidity. They literally transfer XRP between, some of the biggest corridors for ODL today. So that's significant. We can talk about HomeSend, which we'll talk about, has ties with MoneyGram as well. Keep in mind, Ripple owns 10% of MoneyGram. All right. And you guys can probably find connections even between these groups as well. All right, so again, we're seeing the partners on trusted partners of p2pcash.com. We can see Ripple, we can see MasterCard, and we can see Swift, all tied together, all having vested interests. So again, just like Ripple and Coinbase have many investments in, groups like Securitize, even though you might think that they're competing, it's kind of a form of co-opetition because they're working together as well, okay? They need that competition. They need, suppliers. They need market makers. It's going to kind of have this just huge explosive effect. Okay, so HomeSend, again, as we can see, this is actually just a joint venture. We already talked about MoneyGram playing a role in this, which is, Ripple, utilizes on-demand liquidity today. The CEO of MoneyGram loves XRP. Like, you've heard many panels, I'm sure, many, quarterly reports. I don't really need to tell you that by now. And again, HomeSend, huge focus on transforming cross-border payments. So joint venture, we have MasterCard and, of course, eServe Global. Now notice additional partners. We have Standard Chartered, another investor in Ripple, another huge user of RippleNet as a whole. Should be no surprise. We'll go right here. We've talked about Vodafone. We've talked about WorldRemit. We'll kind of dive into them as well. Just remember that I mentioned them right here. HomeSend. Again, compliant. As we can see, MoneyGram. No surprise. Okay. And then notice, obviously, kind of, how far their reach is. No surprise. So Latin, LATAM, that's Latin America. Of course, you can talk about, NA, Middle East, Northern Africa regions. And of course, if I say APAC, that refers to the Asian Pacific regions. Okay. And then notice all the way back then, MoneyGram connected the HomeSend in 2014. Next. So we have Standard Chartered. Of course, we are aware of their, platforms like Access. We can talk about Ant Financial, which is another behemoth, guys. All things related to Asia. I mean, it's just, basically just a dominoing effect. And I'm not saying they're using XRP. What I'm saying is it is partnerships across the board. So pay attention to huge groups like Tencent, Ant Financial, Alipay and this mobile network, which is also connected with WorldRemit. We can talk about connections to even TransferWise, which is seen as another competitor to Ripple and RippleNet and the things that they're working on in many remittance companies and platforms and financial institutions. Okay. And essentially, I think that they're actually going to have interoperability. There's going to be many ledgers, many systems, but we need them to communicate. Every client is going to have their own preference, own use case, and have their own values. And this is exactly where we're seeing all of this headed. Okay. So right here, remittances are a lifeblood of many communities in the Philippines, the third largest remittance market with 33 billion of inflows in 2017. And remember, Ripple is quoted to say this, nothing has changed. XRP is the lifeblood of Ripple. I think you guys understand the valuation. You understand the long-term plan. It is not just about DLT. It is truly about utilizing XRP, not as a reserve currency for the STR per se. It is truly just as one of the many reserve currencies for the remittance corridors initially. The sky is the limit. Anything is possible, but let's again stay grounded and focus on what is at play right here. Thus far, what we can see. If anything else happens sooner or, price explodes, awesome. But right now, let's focus on what we can see and touch right now. Okay. So focus on Standard Chartered. They're working on a lot of, huge things. Same thing with Santander as well. I just think I've never seen, maybe I'm just paying more attention, but 2020 in particular with this pandemic, this narrative of accelerating digital payments has been massive. Okay, and then when you tie it back and really look at the vernacular that these groups are using, like the World Economic Forum, which hosts Ripple, oddly enough, makes you wonder. And yes, there's very few blockchain companies that are even hosted there per year. The 1% of the 1%, guys, where they meet annually. Green energy, climate change, financial markets, monetary policy. I just think there's something really big cooking, and I do believe that XRP will play a role. Even if it's minute, it's going to be huge, okay? So right here, talked about Bitso. Again, as you guys can see, Bitso and Ripple are delivering friction-free exchange across Latin America. Just kind of sharing that as well. I was just reading a little bit. And again, Bitso's website, if you guys want to look there as well, one of the biggest exchanges in Latin America. You guys can focus on corridors like Mexican peso, obviously, the El Peso Argentino, the Argentine peso, Argentina peso, whatever you want to say. And then right here as well, just like we referenced, World Remit on HomeSend. World Remit announces global remittance partnership with Alipay, the world's largest or leading payments and lifestyle platform. So we can talk about, Alipay, we can talk about WeChat. There's many companies, and yes, they're most likely going to use their type of, their own type of in-house crypto asset to some extent. But nonetheless, this volume, we see the trends for e-commerce growing. I still think that there's going to be huge things coming for usage. And I think China really accelerating their digital adoption and their DCEP, their digital currency electronic payments, is going to be a huge push and, huge improvement for their infrastructure that is going to incentivize many countries to step their game up to even keep up and stay relevant. Okay? The integrations they've had with their bank accounts is, levels beyond. And the question is, how fast can the United States really step up? Okay? And I think all competition is a good thing. So I wanted to share this. This is from Yoshitaka Katao. Again, he is essentially head of SBI, a massive group. We know their connections, a huge, stakeholder, shareholder in R3 and Ripple, my two favorite groups that I'm paying attention to specifically for the XRP ecosystem. And you can also, watch Spring as well. But personally, I kind of categorize Spring right under Ripple as well, considering it's, one of the original investors. But again, so right here, guys, NASDAQ. So MicroStrategy becomes the first listed company to buy Bitcoin. So NASDAQ, remember NASDAQ and R3 partnership, as I talked about in the previous video. And right here on the block crypto, this company announced on Tuesday that it has purchased 21,454 Bitcoin, currently worth over $250 million. Now again, this is huge, but as we can see here, it says right here, it's not clear that whether MicroStrategy bought the Bitcoin via a crypto exchange or an OTC trading desk. Remember, I don't know, maybe a week or two ago, I was asking guys about, OTC trading desks. I was kind of pulling up like the top 20 or 10 and just asking you guys, if anyone has used them. I don't know if there's any, huge whales watching this channel. I've talked to a few and you guys are, oh my gosh, I don't even understand how you own so much XRP. But if anybody has, utilized an OTC trading desk for themselves personally, please let me know. I have a lot of questions about this. If you guys are doing, big buys and utilizing, Gemini or Genesis, anything like that, would love to kind of hear about your experience overall, hear about the fees, hear about the spreads, etc. Okay. So, and also to go in tandem with that, guys, that huge purchase of Bitcoin, as we know. So, well over $250 million at the time. And keep in mind how fast that's going to appreciate if Bitcoin even goes towards all-time high. And me, I don't really care for Bitcoin per se, but as of now, any investments into the crypto market, we're seeing, 50 billion being added in short periods. This is reminding me of 2017. I mean, guys, we had hundreds of billions flow into this market, like at the snap of a finger. So the on-ramps, the barriers to entry have been lowering day in and day out. We saw that in the previous video, Binance reported some of the highest traffic since 2017. Volume is also and typically a sign right before something big happens. So yes, I do expect to see some big price moves, even if XRP, and I'm saying worst case, trend sideways for another 2 months between 25 and 34 cents. That to me is a huge opportunity, a huge blessing, because in the near future, I think people will be surprised and even consider themselves lucky and brag that they bought XRP under 50 cents, under $1. And if you don't see that, I don't know what to tell you. I've done the research. I see what is occurring across the board. Nothing is guaranteed, but we are seeing payment flows increase. And I have no reason to believe that XRP is going to fail. It is truly all or nothing. Okay? So right here, XRP Crypto Wolf, additional news, guys, 243 million Bitcoin transfers. So again, a $243 million, valuation of Bitcoin transfer turns heads as one of the top wealthiest crypto whales awakens. And again, guys, newcomers, a whale is a term for anybody that has a huge amount of holdings, whether it's, an institutional account or, an individual. So pretty crazy to know that this transfer, a single wallet held that much Bitcoin. Usually people that own that much would, kind of diversify the holdings for security purposes. And I guess this, account or this wallet hasn't been active for quite some time. So as you can see, data from crypto analytics firm Glassnode shows the number of Bitcoin whales has been growing since January, hitting a peak last seen in September 2017. Remember, there were bull runs in spring of 2017, which was huge and everyone forgot about it. And then the big one happened, November, December, even January for many alts as well. So typically Bitcoin would pull up and explode. And right now we're actually seeing some altcoins, taking dominance. I think that Bitcoin, just like many people are saying, I think Bitcoin dominance is going to go lower. Essentially it's time. If you guys are looking at the, XRP and Bitcoin charts, you're going to kind of see that type of flipping. I mean, XRP's valuation has been bottomed out for quite some time, and it has some of the most sound fundamentals. Why is it most suppressed? Why is it the last to move? Well, potentially it might have one of the most obvious use cases that can be immediately used today. All right. So last but not least, just showing you guys, again, a big time anonymous crypto holder just moved all of their Bitcoin in one of the richest wallets in existence, 19,722 Bitcoin, worth more than $243 million. That is absolutely crazy. So let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Basic question is just this, and this might be really stupid to you, but I genuinely want to know, is Flare with this, Spark token distribution, if you want to call it that, is this going to, increase price for XRP because people are going to want to, hold some XRP so they can claim more Spark tokens, even though they might be, valued relatively low initially? Or is this going to be an opportunity for, whales to kind of take advantage? So as everyone goes into XRP, they're going to kind of do some skim trades and take off the top. Genuinely curious. I'm not sure about the date that's going to be announced, but of course I will be announcing it as soon as I see it on this channel. Appreciate it as always, and I will see you in the next one.